Here's a question we rarely, if ever, hear. Why do romantic partners live together? It's just what couples do, right? But why? Whose idea was it to insist that couples live together? There's no way to know, of course, although marriage historian and Evergreen State College professor emerita Stephanie Kuntz tells me that throughout most of history, households were not just about raising children, but also the center of production. So anyone who worked needed to be in one place. She also notes, it took a certain amount of capital to set up a household, so people often didn't marry until they could do so, and people who could not afford to set up a little family farm or business worked as servants or lived as household dependents in the homes of those who could, even if they were married to someone who worked and lived in another household. We no longer live like that, of course. That said, we can all agree that before two people become a romantic couple, they start off as lats, with each of them having a place of their own, whether solo or with parents, friends, roommates, or some other configuration. In other words, all romantic couples start off living in separate households. And, throughout history, and even until today in parts of the world, some romantic couples stay that way. First, let's look at married couples, because for many years, society looked down upon people of opposite sexes living together in sin, although many U.S. states recognized common law marriages in the 19th and early 20th centuries. That changed by the mid-20th century when, after much debate in the courts, it lost its legal status. It wasn't until the late 20th century that cohabitation became more acceptable and even trendy. In his 1949 book, Social Structure, anthropologist George Peter Murdoch defined marriage as a social group characterized by common residence, economic cooperation, and reproduction. But, as Kuntz notes in her book, Marriage, a History, sharing a residence is not universal for many couples, married or not. Both the Ashanti men of Ghana and Indonesia's Minangkabau men live with their mothers and sisters, even after they wed. The men of New Guinea's Gururumba people sleep in separate housing, only coming together to cook and eat the day's main meal. And in 18th century Austria, lower-class married couples often lived apart for years, mostly because they were servants living in other people's houses. The Mwasao people of southwest China have been extensively written about for practicing what's called a walking marriage, although they traditionally haven't married. Mwasao men visit their female lovers at night at their places and go back to their mothers' houses in the morning to help raise their sisters' children and grandchildren and contribute to the daily chores of their own extended family.